And you're doing Torah today too, right?
Yeah.
How about that? That's perfect, isn't it? He's going to be slacking for 2 weeks, so naturally he should have Torah, and that's just the way it worked out. Oh, did you give us the high sign?
Yeah.
So this is going to be on tape too. Go ahead, Joshua.
Shema Israel, Yahweh Hinu, Yahweh Echad, V'yavto Yahweh Heka, Akula Veka, Akuna Sheka, Akuma Deka. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh is Elohim, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh with our heart, with our being, and with all your strength.
All right. All right. Well, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Greetings to the people on the outreach ministry, if you should happen to get this DVD in the future. I'm going to talk about the end times today. There are many scenarios. I don't know if any of you have been paying any attention to any of them that are offered to show that September 2015, and we're in what month? September. And what year? 2015. Scenarios that show that September 2015 is the end of time as we have known it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, okay? But I'm saying we should view these so-called prophecies from the scriptural perspective of what Yahshua saw or said. Here's a sample of what is being put out there. Here's this is a direct quote now from a website, updated 9/13/2015. The prophesier is Jonathan Cahn. Got your stones ready? Financial collapse of the U.S., 13 September 2015. Jonathan Cahn was given a revelation from Almighty God and wrote a book by the name of The Harbinger. A harbinger is a warning, and in this case it is a pattern of warnings from Almighty God to the American people. I have taken the warning seriously, and I am warning others also to take the warning seriously. What is today? September 19th. The way I learned math, the 13th always came before the 19th. Is our economy collapse? I mean, granted, the economy is not strong, but is the economy collapse? Have we witnessed, did we witness 6 days ago the financial collapse of the U.S. economy? You're going to have something to say about that in the Torah today, aren't you? About what happens when someone prophesies? Not smart to prophesy dates. From another website, and this, I just copied and pasted this, and this is why Brian and Johnny won't be here. They're leaving on the 23rd of September. They're telling us they're going to Barcelona and a tour in the Middle East or the Mediterranean. But here's the truth of the matter. The rapture will occur on September 23rd because an asteroid will hit the earth on the 24th. And so they want to get out of here because they don't want to be around for that asteroid. Oh, yeah, one problem with that. Johnny just brought it up. If that were the case, she'd take the kids with her. And the kids are staying here. They'll be with us next Sabbath with Nanny. So, you know, I saw Brian put up the end time there, and I saw that the rapture is going to occur because we're going to get hit next Thursday by an asteroid, and I thought, well, they have misled us. Well, if this is on a DVD that is going to be sent out in about 2.5 weeks, and you people hear it, you know that that was a false prophecy. That's creepy, isn't it? All right. Then, here's another one, this giant one in your notes there, the 6 years, 6 years. Anybody ever hear 6 years of tribulation? But the 6 years of tribulation, September 2015, guess what? We have a little bit of an out here because trumpets was just a few days ago the way on the Jewish calendar, and atonement is on Wednesday on the Jewish calendar. So between Yom Teruah and this is on a Christian website, kind of like a Jonathan Cahn website, you know. In other words, a messianic mixing site. So is the tribulation going to start? I don't think it started yet, but I don't know that we would know it exactly. But I think, let's see, the 13th was the Jewish Yom Teruah, or trumpets. And the 23rd is going to be their Yom Kippurim. They call it Yom Kippur. So there's another one. Now, we're not at the end of that one yet, so could that happen? Could that happen? I will confess that it's possible that the tribulation could start between now and next Wednesday. But I don't know where they get 6 years. It's either 3.5, and I really believe it's 7. I think there are 2 sections in Revelation. We're not even going to look at that today. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. You think Nanny needs something about the rapture? She didn't believe in the rapture, does she? Oh, you think? Maybe I'll talk about the rapture. Maybe I'll rupture the rapture next week. Another one, another line from a website. The Mormons, and we all know the Mormons used the name, and they believe in the scriptures, solely the scriptures. They don't pay any attention to the Book of Mormon. But the Mormons, preparing for doomsday, they believe the world will end September 2015. Well, they got 11 more days. And then, of course, we have this one repeated. An asteroid will hit the Earth on September 24th, 2015. I took this, I don't even remember what website I took this off, but it's one of those things that are out there. Now, here's the scripture that goes along with this. September 23rd, 2015, the 70th Jubilee and the opening of the bottomless pit. So that asteroid, this is the prophecy, that asteroid's going to hit the Earth and it's going to open the bottomless pit, and that's going to release all kinds of chaos. And here's the scripture they quote, Revelation 9:11, interesting, 9:11. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. I met Abaddon and Apollyon, by the way, about 40 years ago, and cast him out of a young boy in Topeka, Kansas. At least that's what he said his name was. Okay, now notice this little addendum here. If you have, they don't have notes. I think there's some extra notes. Jay, on the end of your table, aren't those notes from, or did I put some notes there? Oh no, I gave them notes. Okay, they have notes. 10 Hanach, Enoch, verse 9. So this is from the book of Enoch. These are the people who are prophesying these things for us, fellow believers. And to Gabriel, Yahweh said, can I say that word, or do you want me to bleep it out? Proceed against the bastards, and that's in the book of Enoch. And, of course, the book of Enoch has a lot of spurious stuff in it, so we don't go by that, but we'll see. We will see by the end of September This will be one more nail in Enoch's coffin. And I don't mean any disrespect to the real Enoch that lived, way, way back, but the book of Enoch is not written by that Enoch. And then in Christianity there, just as a statement that all this is in some branches of Christianity. Interesting. Well, end times, urgent. Here's another one. This is a picture. I don't know what this has to do with the asteroid. Maybe that's supposed to be an asteroid sticking out of the earth. It's one of those columns that's out there in what, Utah, or, the stone column rising. And again, it says urgent, an asteroid will hit the earth on September 24th, 2015. And supposedly all the governments of the earth know this is going to happen. That's what it says on another website. Revelation 8, 8 and 9. And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. So I don't know why they got a picture of the earth there. A picture of something on the earth. If it's going to be cast, if this great asteroid is going to fulfill this prophecy, it has to fall into the sea, doesn't it? And the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third, and goes on and on. That's actually where they end that quote. And of course, this is because this is the pre-tribulation rapture. So we might talk about the rapture next time. Well, let's go to Matthew chapter 24. What about all of these predictions? Were any of you aware of these things, or is this, if you were hunting on the internet and you heard some of these things, and you heard about some of these things? They're just, the universe. One of them is that the universe is going to end on the 24th when that asteroid hits. The universe will end. I want to know what scriptures these people are reading. Do they know the plan? I do see one of them used Yahweh here. It says the one that was quoting from Enoch and Gabriel, and to Gabriel, Yahweh said. That's the only Yahweh I saw anywhere in there. And we know that a lot of these people either mix the names or don't even use the names at all. But what does Yahshua have to say about the end time? And we need to turn. You need to get your scriptures and turn to Matthew 24, because I only have one verse there, but we're going to read almost the whole chapter. This is what Yahshua said. I believe he's talking about the end time here. Beginning in verse 3. As Yahshua sat on the Mount of Olives, he had just said not one stone will be left upon another, and but this is what they asked him. They said, they came to him separately, saying, "Say to us, when shall this be?" Well, when the casting of the stones one upon another, which is an interesting concept that we kind of passed over for many, many, many years. And then we read the book about the temple and the location of the actual location of the temple not being on the Temple Mount, which makes sense because there are lots of stones left upon another there. And so wherever the temple was, there shouldn't be one stone upon another. And where they have found evidence of the temple's existence, they aren't there. So anyway, when will this be? And what is the sign of your coming and of the end of the universe? Oops. Doesn't talk about the end of the universe. It says the end of the age. That's a period of time. The universe is a big cosmic physical existence, but the age is not a physical existence. It's a time frame. It's a time frame. So now let's begin reading in verse 4. Yahshua is going to tell them what is going to be the sign of his coming and the end of the age. We'll see if he says anything about the universe disappearing. Yahshua answering said to them, "Take heed that no one leads you astray." Do you think there anybody out there is trying to lead people astray? A lot. Well, actually, there's really only one. But he is influencing a lot. Because a lot of those people are not giving these prophecies to lead people astray. They're being used as an instrument of the one who is the prince of the power of the air, who wants to lead people astray. Many shall come in my name, and saying, I am the Messiah. Now, they will either say that Yeshua is the Messiah, or they might say that they are the Messiah. And Islam has, looks forward to a being that's going to come to claim to be the Messiah, and it's not Yahshua. It's not even JC. It's one of the, the third Imam or whatever it is. But they claim that JC is going to come back and he's going to convert all the Christians to Islam. So they have that prophecy. But that isn't here either. They shall lead many astray, and you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings. See that you are not troubled, for these have to take place, but the end is not yet. Now this could apply anywhere between the time when Yeshua actually said this and now, because there've been the whole world's been full of these wars, right? And still is today. There's still wars going on. For nation shall rise against nation, reign against reign, or kingdom against kingdom. There shall be scarcities of food, deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places, all of which we could say are occurring somewhere today. We don't have a scarcity of food here, but they certainly have a lot of scarcity of food in Africa, parts of China, lots of places in the world. Deadly diseases and earthquakes in places. You can look almost every day and find an earthquake somewhere. All these are just the beginning of birth pains. Then they shall deliver you up to affliction and kill you. Well, that happened to a lot of I don't know if they were true believers or not, in the Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition, Louise and Chance will relate to that. They're Monty Python fans. And they shall deliver you up and kill you, and you shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. I don't know if that's happened yet. Do you know, I don't know of a single believer in our age who has been killed for his namesake. I don't know of a single one. But do I believe it's going to happen? Yes, I do. Many shall stumble, and they shall deliver up one another, and shall hate one another, and I think that's going to happen. And we've seen people stumble. We have seen that. That reminds me of a video that I was watching yesterday related to this. And there was a man on there who actually claims to have talked to these people, that a lot of people who are walking around are not really the people who we think they are. Like Obama is not Obama. George Bush at the end was not George Bush. And they showed a picture of the back of Obama's head, and there's a little door. You can see the line of a little door through his hair. And that supposedly is where they've plugged in the new brain. And that's not really Obama. And if you could just shake his hand, this guy is saying, you would see that it's not really flesh. It's kind of like, what's that latex that they make dummies out of, But anyway, what they can do is, according to this man, they can take 2 of your cells, and if they give you a brain scan, they can steal your memory, and they can create a new you out of just 2 cells within a very short time. It doesn't have to be 9 months even, and you're an adult. And they can plug that recording of the brain that they stole, the memory that they've stolen from you. Your memory, you still have it. You may be still walking around, but they're going to create this clone. And it has all your memories. And it says the same things that you would say, and The only thing is, it doesn't have a soul. It has no soul. Well, who would say that? We wouldn't say that, would we? Because we know that we don't have a soul. None of us have a soul. Do you want to see my little door? We don't have a soul. We are a soul. And so this is manufactured by people who believe in an immortal soul, that everybody has a soul and your soul can be stolen. I mean, it's one of the things that's out there. I don't see anything like that in here. But just suppose now, some of those people that have left us, maybe they left us because that little door was opened and maybe their identity was stolen and they were put into a thing that didn't have a soul. It's crazy, isn't it? And so some of those people, in their view, might be some of these people who will betray you. But here we go. Verse 11. Many false prophets shall rise up and lead many astray. Here they are, folks. You can go online and you can find myriads of false prophets. And I'll tell you this. If they have predicted something and they have set a date on it, they have stepped on it, and it doesn't come to pass, we'll find out in Torah today what's supposed to happen to them. And it's not Tov. It's not Tov. Many false prophets, and lead many astray. And because of the increase in lawlessness, the love of many shall become cold. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. Do you read any rapture in there? He who shall have endured to the rapture? He who is raptured shall be saved? I don't see that. And this Tov Basar, good news, of the reign shall be proclaimed in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end shall come. So when you see the abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, set up in the set-apart place, he who reads, let him understand, then let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. Flee to the mountains. So you're going to take an airplane to the mountains? Let him who is on the housetop not come down to take whatever out of his house, except his children. And let him who is in the field not turn back to get his garments. And woe to those who are pregnant, to those who are nursing children in those days. Pray that your flight does not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath. And hallelujah, it's going to take place on Wednesday. For there shall be great distress, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. And if those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the chosen ones, those days shall be shortened. If anyone then says to you, now here's something that is important for you to realize. If anyone says to you, look, it's the beginning of the 6-year tribulation. Look, it's the collapse of the U.S. economy on September 13th. Look, the rapture will occur on September 23rd. Does this qualify for what he's saying here? Look, he's here. He's in the desert. Do not believe it. Because he's telling you all the signs that are going to come, and it doesn't include any of this stuff. Yahweh does not need an asteroid that they have determined, some scientists have determined is headed for the U.S. or for the world, not necessarily the U.S., for hundreds of years. He didn't need to start that 100 years ago or hundreds of years ago for Revelation to be fulfilled. He didn't need to orchestrate a tetrad of blood moons, 4 blood moons, if you will, 4 lunar eclipses at full moons in a sequence for someone to manipulate to say that this is a sign. That's not the sign. That's been in the predictions and in the possible science for hundreds of years. And if you go back and you look at the tetrad in 1492, get my century right here, when those people that write these books say, well, that's when the Queen of Spain and the King of Spain, Ferdinand, well, that's when they ousted the Jews. Well, guess what? They couldn't have seen any of those eclipses. They were not visible in Spain. They can determine that from science. So how was that a sign? Who is it a sign for? It doesn't qualify as a sign. It just doesn't. And these tetrads that occurred here, most of these, if not all of them, are not visible in Israel. And if Yahweh is giving a sign to Israel, which that's where Yahshua was, then that doesn't make any sense. Yahweh doesn't need to have set up tetrads in the normal course of the sun and the moon cycles to give a sign a few thousand years down the road. No, when the sun turns to darkness, when the sun is darkened and when the moon turns to blood, it's going to be a miracle. That's how Yahweh gives signs. See, this is the end according to Yahshua. I don't see this quoted anywhere in any of these prophecies because it doesn't fit. It isn't the way Yahweh works. It's not the way Yahshua expected it for sure. If those days were not shortened, no flesh would be saved alive. For the sake of the elect, this is verse 22 now, those days shall be shortened. And if anyone says to you, look, here is the Messiah, or there, do not believe it. He's coming on Wednesday to pick you up. It really won't be the airplane. He's going to come and pick you up. He said, don't believe it. Do not believe. For false messiahs and false prophets shall arise, and this is the second time he's saying this, and they will show great signs and wonders, so as to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. If we get hit, if there's an asteroid that falls in the sea, they'll use that and they'll say, you know, there it is. But don't believe it. That's not the sign from Yahweh. See, I have forewarned you. So if they say to you, look, he is in the desert, don't go out there. Look, he is in the inner rooms, don't believe it. For as the lightning comes from the east and shines to the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For wherever the dead body is, there the vultures shall be gathered together. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give its light. So there is going to be a tribulation period. And other scriptures pretty much show that it's going to be 7 years. 3.5 years of Satan's wrath, followed by 3.5 years of Yahweh's wrath, which you can get out of the book of Revelation. Then these signs will come. They're not going to come first. The tribulation is coming first. And the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Adam shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Son of Adam coming on the clouds of the heaven with power and much esteem. Now, if he's coming on Wednesday, I'm disappointed in the amount of tribulation that we've had. Now, Dolores, you might think you had tribulation this last 2 months, but it's nothing like what is talked about here. And you recognize that. We haven't seen the tribulation. The economy of the U.S. is going to collapse. I do believe that. But it didn't collapse on the 13th. And, you know, in my view, this guy's a fool for setting that date. Just like a certain other individual that set a date a couple years ago and said that if Yahshua does not come back by that date in that year, which was, I think, 2012, might have been 13, then he's not going to come back for a very long time. Well, I don't think we can go on for a very long time. And so I think that guy, you know, he gave himself kind of an out, but I think he proved himself to be a false prophet. And he did it for money. So these things have got to come to pass. And then the Son of Man is going to come. But it's got to be after that tribulation time. And he shall send, in verse 31, his messengers with a great shout of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones. Then he shall gather together the chosen ones from one end of the heaven to the other. Huh. Well, sorry guys, you're not going to be raptured on Wednesday. It's not a rapture, it's a resurrection, you know, like 1 Corinthians 15 and 1 Thessalonians 4 talk. Well, Yahshua, this is Mark 13, has about the same thing in here. Mark chapter 13. Mark 13, beginning in verse 4. Yahshua sat upon the Mount of Olives. Just another example, a second witness, and there are three witnesses to what Yahshua said here. And they came to him separately, and they said, "Say to us, when shall these events be? What shall be the sign when all this is going to be accomplished?" And Yahshua began to tell them, "Take heed that no one leads you astray." Isn't that how he started the other sequence too? I mean, the witness is that really Yeshua's first warning was, don't let anybody lead you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am he, and they shall lead many astray. And when you hear of fightings and reports of fightings, do not be troubled. It has to take place, but the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation. Same scenario. And he talks about scarcities of food, disturbances, being the beginning of pains. Well, if this is Israel, and I don't think there's a big scarcity of food. I don't read that over in Israel. And we don't have a big scarcity of food here. But he says we're going to have it. So I wouldn't get too excited about things that are going to happen next week. Now, things could start happening bad, but Yeshua's not coming back, and he's not going to gather the elect next week because we've got too much stuff to take place here, according to the word of Yeshua. When they lead you away and deliver you up, in verse 11, they're going to take you before rulers. Anybody know of a person, a Yahweh believer, who's been taken before the rulers? Oh, there were some way back in the Roman Empire. But he's talking about the end time here. I think it will happen, but I don't see anybody being taken before rulers yet. And he says, don't think about it ahead of time, what you're going to say, but whatever is given to you in that hour, speak that. For it is not you who are speaking, but the Ruach HaKodesh. Brother shall rise against brother. You'll be hated, in verse 13, by all nations for my name's sake. The abomination that lays waste, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, it'll be set up, and I think that Yahweh's people will know that, and I'll show you a scripture that leads me to believe that they will. He who is on the housetop, let him not go down. All of this is repeated again. And in verse 20, if the master had not shortened those days, no flesh would have been saved. But because of the chosen ones, whom he chose, he shortened the days. If anyone then says to you, look, he's here, these are the same statements. He's here, he's there. Don't believe it. And he says again in verse 26, then they shall see, after these things take place in the heavenly signs, then they will see the Son of Adam coming in the clouds with much power and much esteem. So if somebody were to say, if an asteroid lands in the ocean somewhere, I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but somebody's going to make a big deal of it. But because all of these other things Yeshua has spoken of have not come to pass, if they say that, if they say he's here or there, don't believe it. Because all these things haven't come to pass, and Yeshua did not lie. Yeshua did not lie. Luke chapter 21, same thing. And I won't read all of Luke chapter 21. But what I want to do is, before I go into the parable that he gives right after these, I want to show you what Shaul said. what Shaul said. Shaul, for those people who believe that Shaul was contrary to Yahshua, they should pay attention to this, because where did Shaul get his information? He got it from Yahshua. And he followed Yahshua. And I'm sure that he was privy to what we have just read, those accounts. They may not have been quite, as well defined, but I'm sure the essence was there and that Shaul heard it. Go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. We're going to come back here because we want to look at that parable that Yahshua gives after he tells them all these things that they need to be watching for. And remember, he did say, he that endures to the end. 1 Thessalonians 5. Shaul, as we read not too long ago, writes to this congregation at Thessalonica. Now, Akim, brothers and sisters, because he probably used the term Akim here, which in Hebrew includes the women as well. As to the times and the seasons, you do not need to be written to, for you yourselves know very well that the day of Yahweh comes as a thief in the night. Now, granted, I would say, this statement doesn't disqualify, if this is the way Yahweh was going to do it, Wednesday, Thursday scenario that's being put forth by some of these false prophets. But because it would be like a thief in the night to most of the world. And the problem is the only ones that it's not a thief in the night to are the people who are either mixing the name or don't even have a clue on his name. Do you really think that Yahweh would reveal a change in his plans, a speeding up of the prophecies to people who don't even know him? I mean, if you don't know his name, do you really yada him? You don't really yada him. That's know in Hebrew, means deeply know. You don't know him if you don't even know his name. I don't think that's who Yahweh is going to. That's not who I'm looking to tell me what's going to take place. I'll tell you for sure. A thief in the night. For when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction, and they're not saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, Akim, if you know his name, if you know him, if you know his word, are not in darkness. Now, do we think the world's in darkness? Yeah, the world's in darkness. And are these people who are out there in the world in darkness, do they really have the light of Yahweh? I don't believe so. But you who are not in darkness, you're not in darkness so that this day should overtake you as a thief. Now it's critical for us to understand, what does he mean? Does he mean we'll know when it is coming to pass? Why would we have a better idea than some of these people who are in darkness because they don't even know his name? Could it be because we believe what Yahshua said and we are watching? Those are the things we're watching for. We're not watching for what people on the internet are predicting. We're not watching for what scientists are predicting. But we believe what Yahshua said in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. And he gave a whole scenario of things to watch for. And then he gave that parable, and that's kind of crucial to this. Verse 5, for you are all sons of light and sons of the day. We are not of the night or of darkness. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. But we who are of the day should be sober, putting on the breastplate of belief and love, and as a helmet the expectation of deliverance. Because Elohim did not appoint us to wrath. So, even though you might have troubles, Yahweh doesn't appoint you to wrath. And if Yahweh brings you to it, thank you, Joshua. Yahweh will get you through it. But he appointed us to obtain deliverance through our Master Yahshua Messiah, who died for us so that we, whether awake or sleep, in other words, whether dead or alive, when he does return, should live together with him, 1 Corinthians 15. Therefore, encourage one another, build up one another, as indeed you do. But Akim, we beg you to know those who labor among you and are over you in the Master, and admonish you. And the ones you know the name, because they know the Master, your Master. And to hold them in the highest regard, we appeal to you, Akim, warn those who are disorderly, encourage the faint-hearted, uphold the weak, be patient with all. See, this is all part of being in the light. Don't just turn your back when someone sins and say, well, that's between them and Yahweh. These are all things that we've had to do. See that no one renders evil for evil to anyone, but always pursue what is tov, both for yourselves and for all. Rejoice always, pray without ceasing. In all circumstances give thanks, for he is the desire of Elohim in Messiah Yeshua for you. Don't quench the Ruach. Do not despise prophecies when they come from the Ruach. Prove them all. Hold fast what is tov. So, prove all things and hold fast what is tov. That's what will get you into the light, and you won't be in the darkness. And therefore, these things won't come upon you as a thief, because you're enduring to the end and you're watching and you believe what Yeshua says. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, beginning in verse 3. Let no one deceive you. Oh, isn't that the very first thing that Yeshua said in Matthew 24 and Mark 13? Don't let anyone lead you astray. Let no one deceive you in any way, because the falling away is to come first. And actually, this is the standing again from below, which has a reference, and this is, that's a whole sermon on what is the abomination of desolation. What did Daniel see, and why was Daniel sick when he saw what he saw? The abomination standing in the Kadosh place. Ooh. Daniel saw it. I hate to tell you this, but you and I may have to look at that. We may have to see it. And I'll bet it'll make us sick when we actually see it. It makes us sick just thinking about it. What he actually saw. The man of lawlessness. This man might be the same one we read of in the prophecy in Isaiah 14:12, Hallel, not Lucifer, not the light bringer, but the boastful one, the shining one, but boastful, shining in himself, boastful. That's what Hallel means, and he's the sovereign of Babel. Verse 4, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called Elohim, or that is worshipped, so that he sits as Elohim in the dwelling place of Elohim, showing himself that he is Elohim. So you need to know, where is the dwelling place of Elohim? It's not in Jerusalem. It's in heaven. It's in another realm. It's in the other side. That's right here in this room. His dwelling place is not right here in this room. Hopefully he's dwelling with us today. And that's what Daniel saw. He saw Hallel. He saw Hasatan sitting in the place that was the throne of Yahweh, and Yahweh was gone for that time. And he'll be gone for probably 3.5 years. We better be close enough to him so we can find him when he's not there. Verse 8. Well, it says in verse 7, the secret of lawlessness is already at work, only until he who restrains comes out of the midst. And of course, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, see, that's when that top's going to be knocked off the bottomless pit, and they're all going to come swarming out. I think they're already swarming. And the lawless one shall be revealed, whom the master shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and bring to naught with the manifestation of his coming. That's when this lawless one is going to be dispatched. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power and signs and wonders of falsehood, and with all deceit of unrighteousness in those perishing, because they did not receive the love of the truth in order for them to be saved. And for this reason, Elohim sends them a working of delusion for them to believe the falsehood. And there are lots of people who believe these falsehoods because they don't believe Yahshua, what Yahshua said. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 1. Know this, that in the last days hard times shall come. Well, we haven't seen hard times yet. We're still in the land. We're more in the land of Goshen than we were 2 years ago. I mean, people think they're almost in nirvana with gas prices down around $2 a gallon, right? To a lot of people, that's important. That's really important. And it's important to all of us because it's important to the economy because it allows dollars to be spent other places. Men shall be lovers of self. I wonder when that's coming. Lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, thankless, wrongdoers, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, fierce, haters of Tov, betrayers, reckless, puffed up, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of Elohim, having a form of reverence but denying its power, because they deny his name. And turn away from these, he says, for among them are those who creep in houses and captivate silly women loaded down with not just women, but men who act like silly women. Anybody who is able to be captivated and led away by various lusts. Always learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. So that's what Paul had to say about the end time. You see anything in there that would lead you to believe that there's going to be a rapture or that there's going to be a short circuit to all those things that Yeshua spoke of in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. I don't see any short circuiting there. Peter says in 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10, but the day of Yahweh shall come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with great noise, and the elements shall melt with intense heat, and the earth and the works that are in it shall be burned up. But do you think that Peter thought that Yeshua's statements in Matthew 24 and so forth were going to be short-circuited? But mainly, what I'm pointing out here is that he's talking about this thief in the night again. Thief in the night. Revelation 16, 15. This is, John doesn't record the end-time prophecy of Yeshua as given in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. But this is John writing here, and he says, see, he's writing this for Yeshua, where Yeshua says to John in this vision, see, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who is staying awake and guarding his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So Yeshua uses the term thief in Matthew 24, but he uses it again in Revelation chapter 16. Now go back to Matthew 24 again. Matthew 24. And let's pick it up in verse 32. And learn, and so he just gives them all these signs that they are supposed to watch for. And didn't he also say, watch and pray that you enter not into temptation? He said it to the disciples on the mountain, on Mount of Olives, the night he was betrayed. But he also said it in other prophecies. Watch, watch, watch. So he says here, learn this parable from the fig tree. When its branch has already become tender and put forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all, this is why he gave this parable. How do you know when summer's near? Because you see the signs in the trees. How do you know that his coming is near? Because you have been watching and you see the things that he spoke of earlier in this chapter. And he says, he gives this parable, I think, in all three of these books. That you're watching for all of those signs, and you know they're not going to get short-circuited. And he warned about short-circuiting, didn't he? Because he said, if they say, I'm here, if they say, I'm there, if they say this, if they say that, don't believe them. I've told you. I've told you what it is that you need to be watching for. Watch for it. Don't watch for what they're telling you. Watch for what I, Yahshua, have told you. So also when you see all these that I spoke about, know that he is near at the doors. Truly I say to you, this generation shall by no means pass away until all this takes place. And he says in another place, we're going to read those last couple of verses there, but he says in another place, if the watchman had known, if somebody told you the thief was going to come, well, do you just go to bed and sleep like normal? Or do you sit there with your 44 waiting for that thief? If you know he's going to come, you're watching for him. And that's what he says, I'm coming as a thief in the night. You better be watching for all of the signs that I gave you. Not the ones that people are going to come up with and especially after the fact, put all of these little things in their nice little niche to show you that it is not the 7th month. We're not in the 7th month. But they're telling everybody they're here. We're here in the 7th month. This is when this stuff is going to come to pass. And they've been telling people that for 2 or 3 years. And that's why I addressed the blood moons when I did. After the first one. After the first set. And I could see, well, first of all, I could see that this is a natural phenomenon that is regularly occurring. That's not what Yahweh is going to use for a sign. I mean, if Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand in 1492 had seen those moons and had somehow repented of wanting to kick the Jews out, then I would say, maybe that was a sign from Yahweh. But when they couldn't even see it, and they kicked them out anyway, how was that a sign? How was that a sign? Doesn't make sense. So, no, Yahshua says, you look at the signs that I gave you. Don't look at the signs as people manipulate natural occurrences or even kind of, we wouldn't call them supernatural, but they're natural occurrences in that science is able to predict them. Those are not the signs of Yahweh. The signs of Yahweh, Yahshua gave in Matthew 24. And some of them are pretty scary and pretty spectacular, but they're not natural phenomenon. They are things that Yahweh causes to come to pass. He says in verse 35, the heaven and the earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. Matthew 24:35. Go back and read again. Matthew 24:3-32. Those words are not going to pass away. They are going to come to pass. No man is going to be able to short-circuit it. And then here's the clincher. Concerning that day and the hour, no one knows. So why would you say the U.S. financial base is going to collapse on such and such a day? Money? Yeah. The financial collapse. There's no money involved here. Concerning that day and the hour. These are the words of Yahshua. No one knows. Not the messengers of the heavens, but my Father only. Now, can the Father reveal? Yeah, he could. But you know what he did? He didn't even reveal it to his Son. But what he did is he set his Son up to give us all kinds of signs to watch for. And he who endures and keeps watching to the end, he is the one that's going to be saved. And the word rapture doesn't occur anywhere in Scripture. And we'll talk more about that next week. So may Yahweh bless you and guard you. May Yahweh make his face shine upon you and give you his favor. May Yahweh lift up his countenance over you and give you his peace. Yivarekecha Yahweh va'ishmerecha. Ya'er Yahweh panav alecha v'kaneka. Yasa Yahweh panav alecha v'yasem. L'ka shalom.